Before starting, here's something to know. The story might seem confusing, so keep your attention sharp. If you enjoy time travel, it will be easier to follow, but I'll do my best to explain it clearly, and I'll be recapping this 3-season series in 3 videos. First, let's discuss some of the main points about the show. In this time travel story, it works differently from other time travel stories. The show takes place in 3 timelines: 1953, 1986, and 2019. These years are 33 years apart from each other. This time difference is shown using the symbol of a knot, which represents an endless loop. But in this series, time doesn't move in a straight line like in real life. Instead, it works in a loop where things keep repeating. In our world, time moves in one direction, from the past to the present and then to the future. You can't go back to change the past, and you can't see what will happen in the future. But in this show, time goes in circles. You can travel to the past or the future and change things. However, you can only move exactly 33 years forward or backward. Because of this, the 3 timelines, 1953, 1986, and 2019, are all connected and rely on each other. Events in one timeline affect the others. So the story begins on June 21st, 2019, when Mikkel commits suicide, leaving behind a note that instructs not to open it until 10:13 p.m. on November 4th. Fast forward to that date, we meet Mikkel's son Jonas, who is still grieving and undergoing therapy to cope with his father's death. We also learn that Jonas's mother, Hannah, is having an affair with Ulrich Nielsen, a local police officer. After 2 months, Jonas returns to high school and reconnects with his best friend Bartosz, who is now dating Jonas's crush, Martha, Ulrich's daughter. Martha's family includes her mother, Katarina, the high school principal, her older brother Magnus, and her younger brother Mikkel. The story is set in the small town of Winden, Germany. One day, a local drug dealer, Eric, goes missing. Ulrich and his team investigate but believe he may have run away. Charlotte, Ulrich's colleague, reminds him that 33 years ago, Ulrich's brother, Mads, also disappeared under similar circumstances. Ulrich dismisses the connection, believing the cases are different. Jonas and his friends discover that Eric used to stash his goods in a cave near the Winden woods, so they decide to explore it at night. With a town meeting about Eric's disappearance keeping their parents occupied, they head to the cave as darkness falls. Magnus brings Mikkel along on their mission since no one is home to watch him. Before they reach the cave, they encounter Francesca Doppler, who has already taken Eric's stash. An argument ensues, but it's cut short when terrifying noises echo from the cave, causing everyone to flee in panic. Jonas is responsible for taking care of Mikkel, but during the chaos, Jonas falls and experiences a seizure, triggered by a memory of his father. By the time Jonas regains consciousness, Mikkel has disappeared. Meanwhile, during a town meeting about Eric's disappearance, old Helga runs in from the asylum, shouting warnings that it's going to happen again. The townspeople quickly restrain and remove him. Another key moment occurs at 10:13 p.m. when Jonas's grandmother, Inez, secretly reads Mikkel's suicide note but hides it without telling anyone. Jonas and his friends alert the police, and their parents rush to find them. At dawn, the police begin searching the area, and Ulrich discovers the dead body of a boy. However, it's not Mikkel, but another boy wearing strange, old-fashioned clothes. Nearby, a Walkman is found beside the body. On the other side of the story, a hooded man is seen experimenting on Eric, forcing him to sit in a bizarre chair. Forensics reveal that the dead boy had been killed 16 hours earlier, and his clothes appear to be from the 1980s. Additionally, a coin from 1986 is found near his body, and the boy's eyes and eardrums are badly damaged. Now let's talk about Charlotte Doppler's family. She has 2 daughters, Franziska and Elizabeth Doppler, a husband, Peter Doppler, and a father-in-law, Helga Doppler. Peter is also Jonas's therapist. After Mikkel's disappearance, Ulrich recalls his brother Mads, who went missing from the same area in 1986. Ulrich begins to suspect that Mads, Mikkel, and Eric's disappearances are somehow connected. Ulrich investigates the cave and discovers a hidden door that leads to the nearby nuclear power plant. He requests permission to search the plant, but the plant's director, Alexander Kohler, Bartosz's father, refuses. Alexander's wife, Regina Kohler, owns a hotel in Winden. One day, Bartosz finds a password-protected phone near the cave, which only deepens the mystery. Meanwhile, Jonas discovers a map in his late father's studio that details a path to the cave, labeled "Where is the Crossing?" Around the same time, a hooded man books a room at Regina's hotel. Inside the room, he covers the walls with various newspaper clippings and diagrams related to the disappearances, and he has a strange mechanical device along with a book on time travel. On one of the clippings, the man crosses out, "Where is Mikkel?" and replaces it with "When is Mikkel?" As strange phenomena begin to occur, including flickering lights and birds falling from the sky, Charlotte grows increasingly anxious. Meanwhile, Mikkel is shown to be alive. After emerging from the cave, he heads home, only to find everything has changed. Upon checking a newspaper, Mikkel discovers the date is November 5th, 1986. He has traveled 33 years into the past. Let's go back to 1986. Mikkel returns to his home, but when Ulrich's mother sees him, she asks, "Where is my son Mads? When will he come home?" This confuses Mikkel, and he runs away. He goes to the police and meets Inspector Egon Tiedemann, telling him he is Ulrich's son. But since Ulrich is still a teenager in 1986, Egon thinks something strange is going on. He suspects Mikkel might have been sent to harm him and decides to hand him over to a nurse at the hospital. The nurse is Inez, Jonas's grandmother, and Michael's mother. Mikkel tells her he's from the future, but she laughs it off, thinking it's just a joke. Even though many days pass, Egon and his team still can't find any clues about Mads' disappearance. During this time, a strange case comes up where a farmer's sheep die all at once, with their eardrums ruptured. Meanwhile, Egon's daughter, Claudia Tiedemann, becomes the first female chief of Winden's nuclear power plant. Claudia is Regina's mother, making her Bartosz's grandmother. The previous plant chief, Bernd Doppler, tells Claudia that the plant has hidden nuclear waste barrels in the Winden caves. Helgi, Bernd's son, gives Claudia a book called Asterisk, A Journey Through Time Asterisk by H.G. Tannhaus, the same book the mysterious man at the hotel has. After the Chernobyl disaster, people lost trust in nuclear power, and now strange things start happening in Winden. The lights flicker and birds fall from the sky. Young Charlotte, who witnesses these events in 1986, becomes disturbed and starts investigating. This explains why, in 2019, when she sees similar things happening, she is deeply shaken. It had already happened to her once before in 1986. Seeing this, Mikkel escapes from the hospital and runs back to the cave, hoping that he might return to 2019. Inside the cave, he falls and starts calling for help. At the same time, Ulrich is also in the cave. Both of them can hear each other's voices, but they can't see each other. Meanwhile, we see someone sitting in a watchmaker's shop, working on a strange machine, the same machine we saw earlier in the hotel. Now let's jump back to 2019. Jonas uses the cave map to continue his search. The mysterious man from the hotel watches Jonas from a distance as he explores the cave. After wandering around for a long time, Jonas doesn't find anything, no crossing or hidden passage, so he leaves the cave frustrated. When he comes out, he notices a red thread tied to his bicycle, indicating that someone has been watching him. Charlotte begins to suspect that the birds falling from the sky are somehow linked to the missing children. Just like the bodies found earlier, the eardrums of the birds are also ruptured. Charlotte connects these events to an incident 33 years ago, which they thought was caused by the Chernobyl disaster. However, now, even with low radiation levels, the strange occurrences continue, especially after the two children went missing. Amidst all this, Charlotte discovers that her husband, Peter, has been cheating on her with a transgender prostitute. This revelation causes problems in their marriage, which also starts affecting their children. Their elder daughter, Franziska, begins relieving her stress by spending time with Magnus. Despite all of Ulrich's efforts, the police are unable to get a search warrant for the nuclear power plant, leaving the investigation at a standstill. Ulrich tries to sneak into the nuclear plant by climbing the wall, but fails. Charlotte later goes there to help him out. Meanwhile, Charlotte's younger daughter, Elizabeth, who is deaf, goes missing after school, but returns home in the evening. She tells her parents that she met a man named Noah in the forest, who gave her a watch with Charlotte's name engraved on it, claiming it belonged to her mother. At the hospital, Helge mutters to himself, saying he needs to stop Noah. Meanwhile, the mysterious man from the hotel sneaks into Jonas's room and leaves a message on his map. The next day, a strange man meets Elizabeth's classmate, Yasin, in the forest and tells her that Noah sent him. After that, Yasin also disappears, increasing the tension in the town. In 1986, Mikkel is in the hospital when Noah, a priest, visits him and starts talking about God and religion. Mikkel also meets a young Hannah, and they start forming a bond. However, when Hannah sees Ulrich and Katarina having she falsely accuses Ulrich of raping Katharina, leading Egon to arrest him. Charlotte later explains to Ulrich a fact her grandfather once shared. Every 33 years, the Earth, stars, and planets return to the same position, creating a kind of time loop. Although it's technically about 32.16 years, this cycle hints at the strange events happening in the show, connecting 1986 and 2019. For more on this, Charlotte suggests looking up the lunar solar cycle. Charlotte has been working more than usual, but she begins to suspect her own husband, Peter. Meanwhile, issues arise in Hannah and Ulrich's affair because Ulrich becomes completely focused on finding his missing son, Mikkel. The mysterious man staying at the hotel goes down to the reception and hands Regina a parcel, asking her to send it urgently to Jonas. He mentions that he'll be leaving for a few days, but will continue paying for his study room. After leaving the hotel, the man goes to meet Jonas, who is sitting near his father's grave. The mysterious man tells Jonas that he knew his father and that Jonas's father once saved his life. Remember the phone Bartosz found among Eric's belongings? It suddenly starts ringing. Bartosz believes it's Eric's drug dealer and plans to meet him. When Bartosz arrives at the meeting, he discovers that the man is actually the priest Noah, the same person who met Mikkel 33 years ago in the hospital. Jonas receives the parcel that the hotel man sent to him. Inside, he finds a light, a Geiger counter used to measure radiation, and a letter written by his father, Mikkel. Jonas begins reading the letter, where his father explains that on November 4th, 2019, he accidentally traveled back to 1986 and got stuck there. He was raised by a nurse and later married Hannah, and they had a son, Jonas. This means that Mikkel is Jonas's father, who later changed his name to Michael. In the letter, Michael writes that his death was inevitable, something Jonas won't fully understand yet, but it will become clear in time. The mysterious man then visits H.G. Tannhaus at his watch shop and tells him, "Let's talk about time." Charlotte, frustrated, orders her department to work overtime, demanding they search records as far back as 50 years to solve the case. She sends them to check school records, where they find a 1987 photo of Mikkel. Ulrich interrogates his parents and learns that the day his brother Mads disappeared, his father, Tronte, was having an affair with Claudia, and Regina had last seen Mads alive. As a child, Regina had nightmares about Ulrich and Katarina tying her to a tree near the forest cave, which left her afraid of the area. She reveals to Ulrich that Mads would always accompany her through the forest to ease her fear, and on the day he vanished, he was with her. Regina blames Ulrich for creating her fear of the forest, believing it led to Mads' disappearance. She also informs him that in 1986, Hannah falsely accused Ulrich of rape, as she had been obsessed with him since childhood. Ulrich confirms this at the police station and breaks off his relationship with Hannah. Meanwhile, Jonas, struggling to tell his mother about Mikkel, heads to the cave. Following the stranger's map, he reaches a door with the Latin inscription, "Thus the world was created." As he opens it, lights flicker, and we see Peter and Tronte in a bunker. Ulrich, looking at old photos, realizes that the boy whose body was found in 2019 is his brother, Mads, who went missing in 1986. Jonas emerges from the cave and finds himself in 1986, where his teenage mother, Hannah, lifts him up. He stands in shock, unable to respond, and notices a missing poster of Mads at the bus stop. Meanwhile, in 2019, the police secure a warrant to investigate the nuclear plant, and Charlotte discovers a sealed door in the cave. Back in 1986, during the search for Mads, Egon suspects Helgi and documents it in his journal. Ulrich reads this in 2019 and rushes to the hospital to confront Helgi. Helgi, acting erratically, claims he can change the past and future, but Ulrich is driven out by a nurse. Afterward, the police suspend Ulrich, and Katarina discovers his affair with Hannah. When confronted, Ulrich admits the truth, but Katarina, hurt, says no explanation is needed, as infidelity runs in their family. She also mentions that her mother called about something related to Mads. Ulrich meets his mother, who recalls seeing a man and a priest fighting before Mads disappeared. The priest had a disfigured face, and shockingly, she saw the same man recently, looking exactly as he did 33 years ago. Ulrich realizes the man is Helgi, who has been abducting children and working with Noah to experiment on them. Charlotte discovers Helga's hidden bunker, which is accessible through a path from his cabin. When Charlotte confronts Peter about his father's secret property, Peter denies knowing about it, but Charlotte accuses him of lying, questioning his involvement with Ulrich's father. In 1986, during the search for Mikkel, Jonas reaches the hospital, where the mysterious stranger warns him, if Jonas brings Mikkel back to 2019, it will directly affect his own existence. If Mikkel doesn't stay in 1986 and marry Hannah, Jonas will never be born. Understanding the consequences, Jonas leaves Mikkel in 1986 and returns to 2019 alone. Back home, Jonas burns the letter his father had written. Meanwhile, Helgi escapes from the hospital and heads toward the cave. Ulrich follows him, taking the time travel book and a coin from the hospital as he leaves. Ulrich calls Charlotte, leaving a message confirming his suspicion that Helga is using time travel to kidnap children. Ulrich then enters the cave, chasing Helga. In a different timeline, we see Helgi dragging the body of a child out of his bunker, while Noah marks a new date on the wall, November 9th, 1953. Helgi and Noah are now in 1953, 33 years before 1986. In 1953, young Egon and his chief, Daniel Conwell, Nivald, Jonas's great-grandfather, discover the bodies of Yasin and Eric, which Helga had disposed of after failed experiments. The culprits throw these children into different timelines to avoid detection. A young Helgi watches from a distance as Egon and Daniel, confused by the children's modern clothing labeled "Made in China," try to make sense of the situation. Initially, they think the boys might be Chinese, but soon realize one is white and the other is brown. One day, Helgi throws a piece of wood into the cave, luring Claudia's dog inside. The dog enters but never returns. This event ties into the moment when Ulrich chases the older Helga into the cave, but instead of following Helgi to 1986, Ulrich accidentally ends up in 1953. You might wonder how Ulrich, traveling 66 years back from 2019, reaches 1953. The cave splits into two paths, one leading 33 years forward and the other 33 years backward. Ulrich and Helgi take different paths. Ulrich ends up in 1953, while Helgi reaches 1986. When Ulrich emerges in 1953, he meets Agnes Nielsen and her son. Shocked, Ulrich realizes he has just encountered his grandmother and father as their younger selves. Later, Ulrich visits H.G. Tannhaus's shop and shows him a book about time travel. Tannhaus is still young in 1953 and hasn't written the book yet, which he will do in the future. Shortly after, young Inez, Jonas's grandmother, and young Jana, Ulrich's mother, arrive at the shop. Ulrich, in a daze, interrogates them and learns about the discovery of two dead children's bodies. Panicked, he rushes off to check if one of the bodies is Mikkel's, but leaves his jacket behind at the shop. Ulrich then goes to the police station to meet a young Egon. He inquires about the dead bodies and tries to show Egon a photo of Mikkel, only to realize he left his jacket with the photo in Tannhaus's shop. While speaking with Egon, Ulrich learns that Helga in 1953 is still a child. Ulrich hatches a dark plan. He believes if he kills young Helgi, he can prevent all the terrible events from unfolding, possibly saving the lives of many innocent children. Ulrich, in a fit of rage, catches young Helgi, brutally hits his head, and hides his unconscious body in the bunker. Meanwhile, young Tannhaus finds a smartphone in Ulrich's jacket and is shocked by the futuristic device. In 1986, the older Tannhaus discusses time travel theories with a mysterious man who explains how a wormhole created by a nuclear plant explosion allows travel 33 years forward or backward in time. He introduces the 33-year lunar cycle theory and reveals that Winden's wormhole exists due to the explosion. The man shows Tannhaus a broken time machine, asking him to fix it so they can close the wormhole permanently. While the machine doesn't directly create the wormhole, it can repeat the blast from the plant, triggering time travel whenever it's used. Reluctantly, Tannhaus brings out his own time machine, identical to the broken one, highlighting a time paradox. Elsewhere, an elderly Claudia is seen pinning photos of various family connections on the wall in the bunker, just as seen in the first episode. Later, she meets Bartosz in 2019, reveals she is his grandmother, and gives him a photo of herself with Regina, asking him to show it to his mother and apologize on her behalf. In 1953, Helgi's family reports him missing, and Noah visits Helgi's mother, Greta, offering her support. Meanwhile, young Egon suspects that Helga's disappearance and the discovery of the two dead children are connected to the stranger, Ulrich, believing all of this started after his arrival. Egon catches Ulrich red-handed, where Ulrich admits to trying to kill young Helgi. However, in the bunker, we see Helga is not dead, only unconscious, and his scarred face is a result of Ulrich's attack. The events appear to be repeating themselves in a time loop. At the same time, young Claudia and Tronti search for their missing dog in the forest, the same dog that Helgi sent into the cave earlier. In another twist, Ulrich's grandmother, Agnes, and Doris seem to be forming a romantic connection. In 1986, Ulrich is acquitted of the rape charges and returns home. Around the same time, a new boy, Alexander Kohler, arrives in Winden and quickly befriends Regina. Hannah becomes suspicious of Alexander and follows him into the forest, where she discovers that his real name is Boris Nivald. She finds and takes his buried passport with her. While Claudia searches the caves for information about the nuclear plant, she finds her dog, which had gone missing in 1953. Shocked to see it alive, she also starts reading the time travel book by H.G. Tannhaus, which was given to her by Helge. All these events seem to be interconnected, repeating in a complex, tangled timeline. Alexander secures a job at Claudia's office with Regina's help. Claudia assigns him a top-secret task, using his building skills to seal the cave behind a hidden door, the same door Charlotte discovers in 2019. Meanwhile, In the bunker, Helgi confronts Noah, accusing him of using him and the time machine for evil, leading to the deaths of innocent children. Helgi argues that no priest would do such terrible things in the name of God. Noah, furious, shouts that there is no God, claiming that humanity is chaotic and that he must use the time machine to restore order. He compares himself to Noah from the Bible, calling the time machine his ark. In 2019, Hannah uses Alexander's hidden passport to blackmail him, threatening to reveal his true identity unless he uses his influence to ruin Ulrich's life. Alexander, who has risen from a builder to the director of the nuclear plant, assigns the task to Torben Voller. They work together to orchestrate a plan, with Alexander promising to bring the nuclear barrels back once the situation calms down. Meanwhile, Magnus and Franziska's relationship grows stronger, while the distance between Jonas and Martha widens, as Jonas must keep away from her due to their family connection. Martha is his aunt. Regina, while cleaning the hotel, discovers the unknown man's research. She finds a barrel containing hidden nuclear waste, and the man retrieves a small container from within it, setting the stage for further mysteries to unfold. In 1953, old Claudia meets young Tannhaus and hands him the blueprint for the time machine, asking him to build it for her. If you think the story is confusing, imagine how poor Tannhaus must feel. Over 33 years, 3 different people have taught him how to build a time machine that he ultimately creates himself. It's a twisted time loop that would confuse anyone. On the night Mikkel went missing, Peter was praying in his father's bunker when suddenly a portal opened in front of him. Through it, the dead body of Mads, Ulrich's brother, appeared. Shocked, Peter identified Mads from his ID and immediately called Tronte Nielsen, Mads' father. After 33 years, Tronte was devastated to see his son's body again. Then, old Claudia appeared, instructing them to place Mads' body in the forest where it belonged. She explained that they were all part of this time loop and everyone had a role to play. Meanwhile, Jonas goes to visit his grandmother, Inez, and asks if she knew the truth about Mikkel. Inez shows Jonas Mikkel's suicide note, explaining that at first, she thought Mikkel was joking, but she eventually realized the future he spoke of was real. Jonas is shaken when he sees that she still has his father's last letter, which he had burned. Taking the letter, Jonas leaves, determined to bring Mikkel back to 2019, no matter what. However, before Jonas can save Mikkel, Noah and Helga kidnap him and take him to the bunker. In 1986, Inez officially adopts Mikkel, renaming him Michael Conwald, thus triggering the time loop all over again. Old Helgi travels to 1986 to warn his younger self to stay away from Noah, explaining that Noah is using him. Young Helgi refuses to listen, and that night, old Helgi attempts to kill his younger self in a car crash, but ends up killing himself instead. Meanwhile, the mysterious man from the hotel meets Jonas and reveals that he is Jonas's future self. This stranger explains that his mission is to destroy the wormhole, but he cannot take young Jonas out of the current timeline, as it would prevent future Jonas from completing this task. Adult Jonas had his time machine repaired by Tannhaus, using Claudia's blueprints, Ulrich's smartphone, and the broken device. Although Tannhaus built the machine, he doesn't fully understand its workings. Jonas then inserts radioactive material, stolen from a truck, into the machine, completing it. The machine has the power to either create or destroy a black hole. Unbeknownst to him, Jonas's actions actually create the wormhole he is trying to destroy. In 2019, Noah manipulates Bartosz into joining him, convincing him that Jonas and Claudia are the real villains. Meanwhile, Charlotte discovers a newspaper from 1953 with Ulrich labeled as a child's murderer. Peter sends her a message, urging her to explore the cave. Reluctantly, adult Jonas activates the machine in the cave, knowing the consequences. As the machine powers up, lights flicker across all timelines, and a portal opens. Young Jonas from 1986 and Helgi from 1953 come face to face through the portal. When they touch, both are thrown into different timelines, Helgi to 1986 and Jonas to 2052. In 2052, Jonas finds himself in a world at war, where soldiers soon kidnap him, ending Dark Season 1 on a dramatic cliffhanger. Thanks for watching, everyone. Season 2 is coming tomorrow, and Season 3 will follow next. Stay tuned, and until then, goodbye.